is my favorite player ever. When I first met Michael Jordan, he didn't look real. He's right here where you are, and I'm looking at him, and it looks like there's white smoke around him, like the Chappelle Show. Like when he had Prince come out when he's come out the rim, like, bro, I'm like, this is Michael Jordan. He was born February 17, 1963, has a brother named Larry. His mom's named Dolores, dad's name's James. His favorite Gatorade citrus cooler. Like I used to have the snap away, the snap away bull sweatsuit.
Wow.
Like, bro, this is Michael Jordan. This is, man, I mean, I can name a million different things about him. This is the guy that cut the slit in his shoe when his toe was hurt in the 91 finals. I could tell you everything about this dude, and I'm right in front of him. And this dude inspired me a million miles away. Not literally a million, but it felt like it.
That's your GOAT, right? No question.
Michael Jordan's so great that he helped give us some other greats. Like Kobe and LeBron, they all admitted they looked up, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, he wears 23 because of MJ.
Michael's so great that, you know, when somebody else is great in something, they say he's the Michael Jordan of this.
Yeah,
like,
right.
But everybody has a case. I get it. Like, especially if I'm born now, I'm saying LeBron. If I was born before, I'm saying Kobe. Like, I get it. But me,
you played against both, though.
All three.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michael.
Damn, you got to play against all three, man.
He never, and I'm not saying anything about anybody else, I'm talking just specifically about him. He never let you down. The highest moments, he never let you down. And he played both ends, and he was gonna find a way. Like, even when we talk about the 98 team, and they won Last Dance, we all saw it, he was 35. He was 35.
He was 35.
He was 35. Pippen missed a lot of the season. Robin's to go on vacation. They still won 60 games and still won the championship. He's a machine. And it's not to knock anybody else, because I think Kobe is that for some, and LeBron is, and there's other greats. But that dude is just, Dame said it, 75. When all the greatest of the greats were there, when he walked in, it was something different.
Yeah. Even Wade touched on that. They said he walked in and the whole room shifted. It
shifted.
Oh, yeah, that dude's here.
He turns everybody into that kid.
I can't, when I bring up the conversation to my father, who's the greatest of all time, he just starts laughing.
He laughs?
Oh, he's like, it's not even he's like, Austin, you guys don't understand. He's like, it's not even a question.
This dude is like, could you imagine somebody who was as ferocious as Kobe, who jumped like LeBron, who played defense like Tony Allen?
Some moments don't just stay with you. They permanently reshape the way you see the world. For Jamal Crawford, that moment arrived the day he found himself standing directly in front of Michael Jordan, the man who had defined his entire childhood, the reason he ever fell in love with the game of basketball in the first place. He still talks about it with a kind of quiet disbelief in his voice. Jordan didn't feel real, he says. It was less like meeting a person and more like watching a figure step directly out of a dream he'd been having his whole life. Crawford even joked that Jordan seemed to have an actual glow around him, drawing the comparison to that iconic Chappelle Show skit where Prince appears bathed in an almost celestial light. And all Crawford could do in that moment was stand completely still, his mind reduced to a single thought: that's Michael Jordan. Because when your childhood hero suddenly materializes in front of you, breathing the same air, occupying the same physical space, it doesn't feel like an introduction. It feels like a disruption of reality. Crawford had grown up the way so many kids across America did during that era, completely consumed by everything Michael Jordan was. And he didn't just watch from a distance, he studied the man. He knew Jordan's birthday, February 17, 1963. He knew his parents' names, James and Dolores. He knew Larry. He even knew Jordan's favorite Gatorade flavor was citrus cooler. He remembered the specific moment during the 1991 finals when Jordan sliced open his shoe just to keep playing through a toe injury. These weren't trivial pieces of trivia to Crawford. They were chapters in something that felt closer to scripture than sports history. So when the man those details belonged to actually appeared before him in person, it didn't humanize Jordan the way you might expect. It did the opposite. It made him feel even more extraordinary. Jordan didn't simply walk into a room. He changed the room. The energy shifted. Everything else blurred at the edges, while he remained sharp and vivid at the center. As Crawford described it, Jordan had inspired him from a million miles away, and seeing him up close only made the myth larger, not smaller. That moment wasn't just memorable, it was a revelation. Because Michael Jordan was never simply a basketball player. He was a cultural force, something that pulled every young dreamer who encountered him into his gravity, whether they ever met him or not. And in that instant, Crawford grasped something that people debate endlessly, but rarely actually feel. The idea of GOAT isn't something you arrive at through statistics or trophy counts. It's an experience. It's the specific sensation of standing before someone whose greatness refuses to be contained by any metric. The surreal collision of a myth you've carried your whole life suddenly becoming a living, breathing person standing 3 feet away. And somehow, that still doesn't fully explain what you're looking at. Most people only ever know their heroes through posters on a bedroom wall, grainy VHS footage, and memories frozen at a distance. But Crawford's relationship with Jordan was different. He hadn't just admired him, he had studied him with the kind of devotion usually reserved for something sacred. Every detail, every date, every story. February 17, 1963, James and Dolores, Larry, citrus cooler. Each one carried deliberately, the way a person of faith carries a belief that gives their life shape and direction. So when Crawford finally stood before the man himself, what washed over him wasn't confusion or disillusionment, it was confirmation. Because rather than reality dismantling the myth, the way it so often does when we finally meet the people we've elevated in our minds, Jordan expanded. He filled the space around him with something that felt simultaneously human and completely beyond ordinary reach. Most icons diminish when seen up close. Jordan grew. For Jamal Crawford, that moment wasn't just about meeting a celebrity. It was about standing before living proof that the dream he had spent his entire life chasing was real. And that kind of proof doesn't just validate one person, it ignites something in everyone who witnesses it. True greatness doesn't simply dominate its era. It multiplies. It plants seeds that take root long after the moment has passed, growing into new legends that carry the flame forward. Crawford said it best himself. Michael Jordan was so extraordinary that his greatness sparked the rise of entirely new giants. Kobe Bryant didn't just admire Jordan from a distance, he reverse-engineered him. He wore number 8 as a symbolic echo of 23, mirrored every pivot and fadeaway, studied every fierce competitive expression, and openly admitted that without Michael Jordan, there would be no Kobe Bryant. LeBron James, labeled the chosen one before he ever played a professional game, deliberately wore 23 and spent his entire career using Jordan as both the template and the standard he was measured against. That's how deep the shadow went. Jordan's influence didn't fade with time. It became the very foundation that future greatness was built on. From Allen Iverson to Tracy McGrady, from Vince Carter to Dwayne Wade, and stretching all the way to today's stars like Damian Lillard, they all drew from the same well. They all grew up hearing the same whisper pushing them forward. Be like Mike was the dream, but the truth is, no one ever truly could. Because while skills can be studied and statistics can be matched, that aura, the specific energy that made defenders tense up before the opening tip, belonged exclusively to Michael Jordan. So when Jamal Crawford's father laughs at the GOAT debate, it isn't dismissiveness. It's because for him and for millions like him, there simply isn't anything to debate. Jordan wasn't just great on his own terms. He became the source, the original current from which players like Kobe and LeBron and entire generations of dreamers drew their inspiration and their hunger. When Jordan walked into the room during the NBA's 75th anniversary celebration, surrounded by icons like Dwayne Wade and Damian Lillard, the atmosphere shifted in an instant. Grown men reverted to wide-eyed kids, hearts racing, reminded in a single moment that real greatness doesn't diminish with the passage of time. It remains radiant. It doesn't level the room, it transforms it. And that is what Michael Jordan always embodied. Not just the peak of basketball, but the mountain from which every other summit rises. Plenty of players can produce brilliant moments, but when the pressure tightens and the weight of the moment becomes almost unbearable, most fade. Jordan never did. As Crawford, who idolized him long before he ever stood in the same room with him, put it simply and cleanly, In the biggest moments, he never let you down. That's the separation. While others cracked under the weight of expectation, Jordan became something closer to inevitable, bending pressure, circumstance, and sheer competitive will entirely to his purpose. Look at 1998, his final championship run with the Chicago Bulls. He was 35 years old, worn from years of battles. Scottie Pippen spent much of that season managing injury. Dennis Rodman was spiraling into personal chaos. The dynasty that had defined the decade looked, by every reasonable measure, ready to finally come apart. Analysts called it finished, but Jordan never operated within the boundaries of what was reasonable. He functioned on something that felt closer to the supernatural. That season, he hauled the Bulls to 60 wins, guided them through the playoffs, and delivered a sixth championship, capped by that iconic final shot over the Utah Jazz, a parting masterpiece that felt less like a conclusion and more like a challenge left burning for whoever came next. It was the same relentless force that produced his 63-point eruption against the Boston Celtics, the same fire that torched the Portland Trail Blazers after Clyde Drexler had been hyped as the superior shooter, the iron will that carried him through the flu game, 38 points while his body was nearly shutting down beneath him. When others bent, Jordan rewrote the script. When the moment grew heaviest, he became most inevitable. To Jamal Crawford, Michael Jordan was never just a superstar. He was a promise, a living assurance that when the stakes were highest and doubt was loudest, he would still deliver. His greatness wasn't defined by statistics alone. It was defined